What's up? You're kicking it with Kia, and I wanted to do a really quick recap and reaction to Iyanla Fix My Life, Engaged and Enraged. I really like this episode because I think it touched on what a lot of people run into when they're trying to get married. They're thinking about all the bells and whistles of a wedding, and they don't concentrate on the marriage. And this couple is the prime example of that. So their names are Ray and Jillian, Ramone and Jillian. And she has them come in to say, well, you have your flowers picked, and who's going to be your groomsman, who's going to be your bridesmaid, just going through all the fun stuff of a wedding. And once they say, yeah, we got all this stuff done, we're good. She's like, okay, so what about the marriage? And she states that they're coming in because, they want to work on their communication. And they want to improve upon their communication. And, so they start going into a few issues that they've been having. One of the issues that really caught Iyanla off guard was that Ray was missing a leg because he had it amputated due to type 2 diabetes. He had been obese, and lost his leg, which has happened often, and how now he's having to get used to not having a leg and all that trauma that's going through that they're not bringing to the relationship, and that's hard on both of them. That would be hard on anybody. So they kind of go through that. And first she was talk to Jillian, and Jillian saying that before her relationship with Ramone, that she dated men that would take care of her and made her feel good and would take her out to eat and pay for things. And with Ray, the roles are reversed now, and the roles are reversed because of because he had his leg amputated. So now she goes from being a girlfriend to a caretaker, which for anybody that can be hard, especially when it's new in the relationship. When it's something where you guys have been married 15, 20 years and you go to become a caretaker, it's a little different than we're not even married yet. And now I've gone from your wife and your lover to basically like your mom. She wants to express to him that this is hard for me, but she doesn't want him to feel bad, which again, that's all understandable. You don't want your partner who really can't help the fact that they're in this situation to know that they're a burden on you. That's basically what she wants to say in a nice way. Like, I love you, but you're a burden on me. Um, she is also sad that they won't be able to have children the natural way because the diabetes medication kind of takes away from that. And a lot of medications do. And I know how she feels about that because, again, I'm dealing with, full disclosure, I'm dealing with fertility issues right now, and no fault of my husband's or mine. We're just dealing with it, and we're a younger couple. And that can be hard, realizing the dream you always had about having kids is now maybe might not even happen, or might be a harder road to go on. So she's also dealing with that. I didn't like the way she describes what Iyanla asked her, why do you love Ray? She said she loves Ray because of the way Ray loves me. Well, that the way he loves you was not a characteristic of who he is. That's just he's treating you well, he's loving you, that's great, but that's not a characteristic of who he is. And when someone asks like, why do I love my husband? I love my husband because he is a hard worker. He is a loving man. He would give the world to anybody. He is a family man. He's an amazing father. He is funny. He is, great to be around, great personality. That's all the things that make me love my husband. And that's how I feel other women would describe theirs. And not that I love him because of the way he loves me. She claims they have a connection and that he gets her. But Iyanla makes a good point. Yeah, he gets you, but y'all can't talk. So what is he getting that the rest of us don't see? So that's Jillian. Um, she also has a weird feeling that Iyanla is trying to break them up. And that to me just screamed insecurity and fear. You're just worried that Iyanla's going to point out stuff that you really don't want to face and have been trying not to face. And on national TV in front of this woman, you're going to have to face them and you don't want to. So it's not that she's trying to break you up. She's just trying to open your eyes, and you don't want to open your eyes. That's nobody's problem but your own. So then Ramone comes in. It's time for Ramone to talk to Iyanla, and you can see he's embarrassed about talking about the leg thing. And then he also reveals that not only did he have his leg amputated, but he has had all 10 toes amputated. So this has been a real issue. And this is, of course, is trauma. That has to be so traumatic at his age to lose all your toes and lose a leg. That's hard on somebody. And through all of this, they're still trying to plan a wedding, and he hasn't even gotten used to, being an amputee. There's some things that need to get worked on, but he doesn't want to put things on hold because he's not prepared. And it's not preparedness. You had a leg removed. You guys need to get used to that. You need to start getting used to walking on your prosthetics. You need to get used to not having the phantom pain or the phantom that your leg is still there to keep you from falling out of the bed. It's just stuff you have to get used to that you haven't had time to get used to. You're so focused on the bells and whistles of a marriage. Iyanla asks him, are you prepared to protect, provide, perform, and please? He says yes for protection. And I don't think he understands what that means. He thinks that it's a sense of security, that, oh, I'm always going to be there for her. Well, that's great. You're a body that's going to be there. But if something actually happens, are you going to be able to protect me? Or in my marriage, if something actually happened, my husband would be there to protect me. Meaning, let's say that, perfect example. I got into a car accident a month and a half ago with my stepson in the back seat. My husband dropped everything what he was doing, came to where he was actually at work, came to where I was. I couldn't handle talking to the police because I was so shaken up. He handled talking to the police. He made sure I was okay. He put our son in the car. He made sure his son was good and that I could focus on me and, talk to my mom, cry to my mom, whatever. He then made sure that everything was taken care of for the car. The car was repaired. Everything was done. And I felt so protected that I didn't have to worry about that. He did it all, and that's protection. That's how you want your husband to be or your male partner to be. And he thinks it's a sense of security. I'm standing next to you. I'm here. You're secure. She then asked if he can provide. He said no. She said no. Okay. Can he perform? He can. There's challenges. Again, he's getting used to being an amputee. So of course there's challenges and that's completely understandable. And then the police, in the bedroom, and he said, no, he cannot. And, Iyanla goes on to kind of talk about him through some things and to see, what are the issues that you see? And he says that he feels like Jillian is controlling. And I feel like Jillian is controlling because she has to be. You were going through all these traumatic things, having limbs amputated. She had to take care of everything. So even while you were healing, she had to take care of everything. Now you're still learning and you can't really do everything. She's still having to control everything and be there to make sure none of the balls drop. And as wives and fiancés, that's what we do. And we're not doing it to be, I don't think she's doing it to be controlling. I think she, in her mind, because I've been in her shoes, you're doing it because you're thinking it's taking a load off of your husband who's going through something. My husband works 14-hour days sometimes. And so I do everything to take the load off of him, but he has told me that it comes off as controlling. And I have to look back and say, yeah, that seems controlling because I want to do everything because I want to make sure it's done right so that my husband doesn't have to worry about it. And I think that's maybe what she thinks, but whatever. So scrolling through my notes, he also said he has no input on his wedding and she's even controlling that part. And, he wants a loving relationship, because he's, I'm just trying to read my notes, sorry, but Iyanla feels like, yeah, you guys want love, but you don't seem to be respected. So they decide to have a little fun. And this to me is where you start to see shit's going left. Number one, they said, I love you 3 weeks into their relationship. That's a little soon because they don't seem like they know each other at all. So I'm not sure where the love was coming from. Maybe, when they were both bigger sizes, they found something. Maybe they love food together. Maybe they could just be themselves together. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But 3 weeks in, when y'all don't really know each other, it's a little crazy to be saying I love you. Their first argument was about soda. He doesn't drink soda. He drank the last one without replacing it. She got upset. It started a huge argument, which we'll get back to that later on in my recap. So then she also asked him, what would happen if you lost the other person? And she didn't want to answer. She's like, I didn't like that question. I took it out. And again, Iyanla's annoyed because no one asked you to take that out. This is my process. I'm trying to help you to open your eyes about your relationship. I'm not sure why you're taking it out. And she just was like, well, I take it out. I didn't like it. Like a 2-year-old who, didn't get something like, I didn't like that question. So I don't want to answer it. It sounded real childish, And he did the same thing. Yes, his answer was a little more flowery than hers. Like, I want to know how we're going to work to stay together and how to fix it and how to be. It was a bunch of bullshit. Like, neither one of them answered the key question. And then Ray starts getting defensive and saying how, Iyanla said that he didn't provide and that made him uncomfortable for her to say that. And she said, I did not say that. What are you talking about? No one said that. And he starts going back and forth about that. And of course, now she's getting defensive to prove a point. So she calls him out. She's like, you know what? I want to hear the real answer about why you think that why you resent him, Jillian, and why you think she's controlling. And they both kind of pause for a second. And then he starts honestly explaining to her why she's controlling. And, you know, she says, well, I didn't know I was being controlling. I want you to step up, which is a lie. She doesn't want him to step up. I think that whole thing that she said about she wants him to stand up and write on the board and take control. No, she doesn't. She doesn't. You say that because it's a nice thing to say because you don't want to get called controlling, but you don't actually want to do it. But he also admits that, he's passive. So when she's controlling, he don't want to argue. And I feel like a lot of men are like that. They don't want to fight with their wife or girlfriend or somebody that they love, especially when their person they love is in the caregiving situation and they kind of have the upper hand. You don't want to argue with that person because that person brings your plates and cooks your food and makes sure the wheels are turning in the house. So you don't want to argue. Um, scrolling. So for the night, she wants him to separate, and they both say they're gonna miss each other. So they go their separate ways. Um, and Iyanla talks to the screen and said that they are both ignoring key issues instead of facing them. And I feel like it shows insecurity in both of them. The one hard thing about being married is that you have to be willing to fight for your marriage and get down in the dirt with your partner. Like if there's something wrong, even if you don't want to have that fight might be needed to get some real stuff out. Me and my husband fight probably once a month. And usually by fight, I mean, we have a huge blow up argument because what we realized we were doing is that we were trying to just swallow a lot of things that were bothering us and just keep it going and let it out in little spurts. And it got to the point where the little spurts would turn into gigantic screaming matches that lasted for 3 hours. And we still do it to this day. Not gonna lie, we still do this. We still try to have a little mini conversations, but once a month, like clockwork almost, we are having this gigantic 3 hour, argument about something and talking about everything that's bothered us for the month, everything that's frustrating us, every little thing. And it always ends the same way. We're like, I didn't know you felt that way. I didn't know you felt that way. Okay, well, what are we gonna do in the future? We're gonna do this. But it's the same argument. But again, you have to be willing to fight. You can't just ignore it and hope it's going to get better. That's not how it works, especially in a marriage. Things, if you're holding on the inside, if you don't talk about it, it doesn't get better. It just festers and festers and festers. And in a lot of relationships, it festers into major mistakes that you can't take back. You can take back an argument. Even if he says something that you're not supposed to say, you can take it back. I've said things I shouldn't say. My husband has said things he shouldn't say to me, but you can take it back or explain it or apologize and move on for it. If you let it get so bad where now you're stepping out of your marriage, you can't take that back. So have the fight. So day 2, Jillian is upset out the gate is what, Iyanla said. In my mind, what I think happened is because she says that she heard production talking about her and was upset about something. So this is where the problem is starting. So Jillian is back at the hotel. So she's working with Mr. Ramone. Ramone and her start talking. They want to go through the fact that Iyanla wanted to prove to him, which I don't know why she cares. Iyanla wanted to prove to him that I did not say what you think I said. So let me play this back to you. She played it back. He sees that she didn't say what she thought he said. Whatever, fine. She also wants him to be honest about the relationship. And while she's asking him to be honest about how Jillian is, it comes up that soda incident that I said I was going to come back to was way worse than what they were describing. Apparently, Jillian got drunk about the soda being missing and called the police on him while he's in a wheelchair and he was detained over a soda. If y'all are fighting over a soda, y'all don't need to be married. That's anybody who watches this video. If you are fighting with your spouse about him taking the last soda, the last anything, then y'all don't need to be married. There's that movie, The Brothers. One of the key things in that movie was you should be wanting to give your partner the last bit of food, the last sip of drink. That means you're really in love. I have never gotten to fight with anybody, to be honest, over the last piece of food in the house. Maybe at a restaurant, but never ever in the house. So y'all don't need to be married if y'all can't get along over soda. Iyanla wants him to understand what he's dealing with her nice, nasty attitude, but I don't think he realizes nice, nasty because he said she never does that to him. I don't think he realizes nice, nasty because he's so passive. He's thinking, oh, well, this is just how it is, and it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. She's just a little upset, And he starts making excuses for her, saying, well, if she said something that was bad, then I apologize for her. That's what he thinks protecting her is apologizing her and accepting her bullshit. That's not protecting somebody from themselves. That's just you feeling embarrassed that somebody brought it up to you that your girlfriend or wife is nuts and they got to deal with it. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. No, you can't apologize for a grown woman. If she was a toddler who had just kicked over a glass of milk, then you say, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's just angry. She hasn't eaten. And you apologize. But a grown woman having a fit? No. So he wants a partner, but he said something really key. He says he wants to have a prosperous wedding. What? That's not a prosperous wedding is not a thing. You want a prosperous and successful marriage. And I think Iyanla is still trying to get them to understand a wedding and a marriage are different. A wedding is one fucking day where you waste a ton of money on people that you don't want to see because you really don't want to see because you just want a free gift. Let's be real, that's what a wedding is. Like, let's keep it 100. A wedding is just a day where you celebrate and party with your close family, your really close family, but then you invite a bunch of other people because you want to see how much stuff you get back for the money you put into your wedding. For anyone who says that's not true, you're full of shit. That's the only reason why a lot of people have a wedding. When I got married to my husband, this is going to sound so awful. We half-assed our wedding. Our wedding was beautiful. It was. My Hindu ceremony was gorgeous, and I had a Christian ceremony. It was gorgeous. But there were so many parts that were the ball was dropped because me and my husband didn't care. We just wanted to be married. We just wanted to be with each other. We wanted to have a partner. We didn't care how the wedding day went. It didn't matter to us. Like, who cares? But a lot of people aren't like that. They want to have the big grand wedding where they can look back on the pictures and show everybody. I mean, I got so many friends right now who spent $30,000 on their wedding and got divorced before 2 years when one couple even hit. So don't chase the wedding, chase the marriage. Go to the courthouse, and then if you make it 5 years, have the big fancy wedding. I have another friend who did that. It was a great idea. So the big issue comes when Jillian comes from the hotel after she's done working with Mr. Ramone. She goes outside to meet Jillian and try to calm her down and to make sure she doesn't bring the toxic energy into the conversation, into Ramone, and they can have a calm day. Jillian gets out the car, passive aggressive and fake as fuck. I don't know if she thought this was the best way to handle this by coming out like, I'm well, how are you? And just trying to be like that. And of course, Iyanla is picking up on it. And she feels like what actually happened was that she was left at the hotel. She was told to come down at a certain time. She gets downstairs and checks out. She gets down. Production transportation is not there. So she had to wait for 2.5 hours in the lobby of the hotel. She's very upset about this. What I think happened is she was mad about what production said about her the night before. There were issues and conversations about her not coming back, which threw production off. So then when she finally agreed to come back, production was like, okay, we're on our way to come get you. But then there's other stuff going on they had to deal with. So it threw the schedule off. That's what I believe happened. If you guys think something else, drop that in the comments because I'm definitely interested to hear. But that's what it sounded like to me. She heard something, got an attitude, didn't want to come, didn't want to have to do with anything, probably threatened to quit. And then that's how it threw production schedule off. But that's just me. But she starts talking to Iyanla and calling her unprofessional and saying that, it was this and that and taking jabs about, I know TV. This is TV. Y'all just want to get a rise out of me and create drama for TV ratings. Sweetie, if you thought that, then why would you do it? If you thought that, then why would you give them what they wanted? Why didn't you just come out the car and say, production was late. I was a little annoyed, but, let's just move past it or say something like that. Instead, you did exactly what the stir up drama situation is. You kept calling her unprofessional. You saying that you don't feel healed. And then Iyanla trying to explain, listen, this is what I'm talking about. This vibe you're giving off, this energy, I don't want you taking it in there. And I feel like you take it into the relationship. And what she was trying to say was, you have resentment toward Ramone. You're not expressing it, but you're coming off in this passive aggressive way saying nice, nasty things that you think no one can hear but you. And then you're getting into bed with this. You're feeling like this. This is the energy you give off, whether you think it or not. This is what it is. This is the energy you're giving. She's like, I don't talk to him like that. I don't do that. You're unprofessional. I don't feel healed. This is for TV. Just everything. And then Iyanla's talking about this is toxicity. She's like, oh, I'm toxic. Okay, I'm toxic. And Iyanla's like, fine. I don't got to do this. I don't need to. Let's go in and cut this on out. Whatever. They go in to go talk to Ramone. And she's trying to explain to Ramone what happened. Ramone immediately goes to his version of protection and takes Jillian's side and says that, well, I didn't want us to be separated. And she's in the lobby. And, the lobby is unsafe. And of course, Iyanla's like, the lobby of a hotel is very safe. If anywhere in the middle of the day, the lobby is the safest place you can be. They're fully staffed in the middle of the day. If there's people checking in, checking out, there's nothing that can really happen. All she had to do was sit there and be bored. Sorry. She was in communication with production, come to find out, but she just didn't want to sit there, didn't want to, be in the lobby. She wanted to be there to see what's going on, most likely, maybe control the conversation. I don't know. I feel like maybe she felt she was left out, but she's upset. And Ramone is taking her side. And, Iyanla's trying to figure out, well, what does this have to do with anything? What are you talking about? So what? Like, yeah, she was in the lobby, but her real issue was that there was no communication with production, and that's what she was sitting there. And it blows up into stupidness. And they're like, because you both think that, we're trying to stir up drama, we're done. They both say okay. She tells him, go get your stuff. He says, I got my stuff. She grabs his leg and they leave. And it's just a really sad situation because I feel like when they were forced to face the issues that they were having in their relationship, they weren't ready to do it. So my thing is, if for anybody trying to go on the Iyanla, if you're not ready to do anything or do the work, then don't go on the show. What's the point of going on the show if you're just going to storm off? You said, because people have said this before, the whole Kamaya Mobley thing, they said the same thing, like, oh, they just want drama, they just want it to be entertaining. If you think that, then why apply? What was the point of applying then if you thought that might even be an issue? And also, if you think that, then why give them the satisfaction of giving them the drama that they want for the TV ratings that they don't need, that you think you're providing? Like, I feel really sad for this couple. And he also said he couldn't carry groceries, but he had no problem carrying the bags out of the room as she carried his leg out, which was also very disturbing. The whole episode just made me feel bad for them. They're definitely not ready to get married. I hope they do not get married. I hope they break up and can focus on themselves. I hope they can deal with their own insecurities, and I hope he can get his health better. But this episode just makes me feel bad for couples who really, really want a wedding and don't want to do the work for a marriage. Having a marriage is hard. As a married woman, I knew going in, because my aunt did my marriage counseling. I knew going into my marriage, that it was going to be a lot of work. Me and my husband come from two completely different cultures. We're two completely different people. In a lot of ways, all the major ways we're in the same. There's other ways that we're different, and we had to work at that. We work at it all the time, but we're here because we're doing the work, and we knew what we were getting into, and we knew how much work it was going to be. So that's it for my review. Drop that in the comments, subscribe to my channel. I want to hear from you about this episode. Let me know what your thoughts are. And if you have any questions about marriage, drop down. I'm curious to hear them, and I have no problem answering them about my marriage, because my marriage is a work in progress. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.